Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our reading of Tafseer As Sa'di. We are in Surah Al-Baqarah. We're dealing with ayats number 256 to 157. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's begin. Let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth stands out clear from error. Whoever rejects Tagut and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Allah is the protector of those who believe. From the depths of darkness He will lead them forth into light. As for those who disbelieve, the protectors are Tagut. From light they will lead them forth into the depths of darkness. They will be inhabitants of the fire, to abide therein forever. So clarity came to me when I reverted, most evidently when you start applying the rules and you really start seeing the separation feeling, this sort of floating away. It's like this sort of, imagine you cut a sandwich and like the cheese is pulling and eventually the cheese thins and eventually breaks. This is how it feels when you're a revert in Babylon, because you go into the light and then you start to see things differently. Modesty, how free mixing is dangerous, how you don't have to be competing with men in the workplace, how letting a man lead is superior, how you not fornicating endlessly with men you don't really know and who you met on an app isn't good. Not that I did that, but I'm just trying to give you examples of things that become clear when you have the liberal brainwashing chipped away. Takes time. Some people, they get this jolt and you're like, oh wow. Sort of like when people realize how horrible interest is. At first you don't have any clue. It's like you are quite ignorant of how wrong interest is. But then you begin to see all these people crying about student debt and mortgage debt and then a car debt. And then you're like, whoa, how is it that debt is like now the standard in America? How do you get ahead with debt? And these people are paying off for years and years and years. This is strange, man. And then you start learning more and more about forgiving debts helps you to get your sins forgiven. It's a kind deed. Remember the hadith we read the other day where there were two men were arguing in the masjid. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told the guy to cut the debt in half and then told the other guy to pay him. It's like you begin to notice these things and you're like, very smart. And so for me, most definitely, you see the light as you start to apply the Sharia. And it is a blessing when you start to apply the, don't go out of your homes unnecessarily mindset. Having a male chaperone. I think a lot of women are coming to terms with that. How the liberals were soft on crime, still are. How the dollar stores, look it up, 123 dollar stores, Dollar Generals, 99-cent stores are closing. The theft is so bad. German of Venice is a YouTube channel. He goes around in California. Really upbeat guy. He shows you the decay that's occurring even in Beverly Hills. Liberals have run New York City into the ground. They have run California into the ground. So you see the fruit of secular liberal atheists and their occultist tolerance and what they push. Alright? And that is pushing the society into darkness. Right? If you are religious, we say, you know what? We're banning these adult entertainment websites. Liberals are like, no, leave them up. Totally leave them up. leading men into a dark pit, women into a dark pit. Human trafficking goes up. Total nightmare. So, for me, the light comes when you study and apply the Sharia. And this ayat is quite clear for us, for those of us who felt this and feel like we're becoming more aware, more conscious of our surroundings. Alright? Here Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us that there should be no compulsion in religion because there is no need to compel anyone to believe in it. Compulsion can only be in matters that are ambiguous and unclear, for which there is no proof or evidence, or for matters to which people have a natural aversion. Compulsion in religion. So, have a natural aversion? I wonder if that's like if a woman's like, well, I just love being outside, smoking a cigarette on my porch, taking a gander at every guy that walks by. And you're like, sorry, smoke on your back porch. Better yet, quit smoking. But if you're gonna do it on the back porch, you don't need to be displaying yourselves to every guy that walks by. As for this true religion and straight path, it is very clear to those who are possessed of reason, and is based on clear evidence. Truth stands out clear from error. So, if one who is fortunate looks at it briefly, he will choose it, whereas the one who has ulterior motives, bad intentions, and evil inclinations will see the truth, yet will prefer falsehood to it. He will see what is beautiful, but will choose that which is ugly. That one is potent, isn't it? Very potent. Mercy can be beautiful. Some people choose cruelty. And it's an ugly result. And sometimes it can be poetic justice for something, and yet people will deny it because it is just too ugly in their brains, right? Allah has no need to compel such a person to follow this religion, because there's no benefit in doing so. The faith of one who is forced to believe is not valid. The faith of one who's forced is not valid. However, this verse does not indicate that we should give up fighting the disbelievers who are in a state of war with Islam. Rather, it indicates that the beautiful nature of this religion would make any fair-minded person feel inclined towards it. I'd agree with that. This is why people work so hard to de-rank Islamic content, shadow ban Muslims, and promote and allow channels that are allowed to mock Islam. It's fascinating. Back in the day, like 9 years ago, not that long ago, the atheists were hammering the Christians. Really going at them. Okay, free speech. Now you have anti-Islamic channels that are quite large, and you're like, whoa. But we all know there's one religion where you could never have a channel with 1 million subs where your whole channel is just about that one group. There's no way. So I think it's funny that the atheists will be like, yeah, trigger Christians, trigger Muslims, and then there's this one group, they're like, no, I don't want to lose my payment processors. And you're like, if you really believed in Darwinism and atheism, you would attack all faiths. But you never attack occultists either. So you're like, And so I think it's so important for people to keep doing dawah person to person. Because you know that the progressive liberal atheists who work in tech are extremely hateful towards us. And so we won't get a fair share. So we have to do the hard labor ourselves. And with women, if you start to they're like, oh, look at these women who have to go out with male chaperones. At first, this can make a woman afraid, like, Oh, what are you talking about? Because they take safety for granted, right? A violent crime may not have happened to them yet, so they're not really aware of the actual dangers that's out there. But because crime has really spread out in America, now women are afraid, and they're like, oh, we want our Second Amendment, we want this, we want that. And you're like, Islam has a solution. Try your best to always go out with your husband, or a male guardian who's permissible. Do your best. It's better for you. It's funny, the feminist atheists will say that women should basically live as if their utopia is already there. Men should know not to do this and that, they say. It's like, yes, they should. But until your utopia is actualized, let's have some male chaperones. I'm oppressed. It's like, okay, why don't you walk down Oakland High with your blunts, your nice little smartphone, your Chanel bag. Go on, walk down there, see how you do. And Islam tells you, be modest, don't use intoxicants, avoid being alone as a woman. All these things protect you as a woman. So if you present the safety aspect to women, you'll learn quite a lot. But again, this interrupts the gold diggers aspect of how they get a new target. They have to have the allure there. They have to have the beauty to fish, right? So the beautiful nature of Islam, I think, really can be made clear to women when you help them to decode themselves from the vanity, materialistic culture of America. As for the issue of fighting or not fighting, that is not the issue here. Rather, the obligation of fighting is learned from other texts. What we learn from this verse is that jizya may be accepted from people other than the people of the book, as is the view of many scholars. Whoever rejects tagut and gives up worshipping anything other than Allah and obeying the shaitan, and believes in Allah in a complete sense that leads to worshipping and obeying his Lord, has grasped the most trustworthy handhold. That is the true religion, the foundations of the pillars of which are well established. The one who adheres to it will be sure of what he is doing, because he is adhering to the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. As for the one who does the opposite, he has disbelieved in Allah and has believed in Tagut, thus letting go of this trustworthy handhold, in which is protection and salvation. So, trustworthy handhold that has protection and salvation. The protection part is quite clear. Just if you take the don't have intoxicants alone, as a woman, you are way protected from predatory men and predatory women and crime in general. If you're smoking meth and you're a woman and you're hallucinating and someone comes and does stuff to you, you can't be as strong. You don't have your wits about you. You're inviting trouble, right? And he has adhered to every falsehood that will lead him to hell. And Allah is all hearing, all knowing, and he will requite each according to his deeds, good or bad. That is the ultimate fate of the one who grasps the most trustworthy handhold, and the one who does not. Then Allah mentions the meaning of attaining that. Allah is the protector of those who believe. So Allah is the protector of those who believe. Very important, because this helps us to keep our Aqidah clear, in my opinion, of what we believe or we contend. Okay? We have to know in our hearts that if Allah has tested us with something so rough, it doesn't mean we're not protected. Very important. This is because of their sincerity towards their Lord, as they have taken him as a friend, and they do not seek any alternative to him or associate anyone with him. They have chosen him as the beloved and protector, and they have taken his close friends as their friends and his enemies as their enemies. Thus he protects them by his grace and bestows blessings upon them by his kindness. He brings them forth from the darkness of disbelief. The darkness of disbelief is quite apparent when you look at it. Look back. If you're a revert, especially in America, look back at your Jahiliyyah, and slowly you'll start to be like, oh, if only I would have known that sooner. Sin and ignorance to the light of faith. The light of faith. Sin and ignorance. Some people sin because you're ignorant. This is very true. So true. Obedience and knowledge. Yes. Once you get the knowledge, be obedient. You're sinning, you're ignorant, you don't know. You're like, this person's ignorant, they have no idea. You can slowly be around wise people who are reformed, who are changing, who are constantly working on their patterns. And, excuse me, my throat is dry. And acquiring knowledge. The reward for that is that he grants them safety from the darkness of the grave, the gathering and the resurrection, and blesses them with eternal bliss, comfort, ease, and happiness. As for those who disbelieve, their protectors are Tagut. They have taken the Shaitan and his troops as friends instead of Allah. They have taken Shaitan as a friend instead of their Lord. So Allah has given the Shaitan and his troops power over them as punishment to them. Thus they incited them to commit sins and evil actions. So here, they incited Shaitan and his troops, incited them to commit sins and evil actions. Drugs will make you do evil actions and do atrocities. Okay? Realize that drugs are literally, they call cocaine the devil's dandruff. Weed, the devil's lettuce. There's some interesting nicknames. Alcohol is called spirits. Something to think about. Something to really think about in your head. And they brought them forth from the light of faith, knowledge, and obedience to the darkness of disbelief, ignorance, and sin. Their punishment for that was to be deprived of good things. So their punishment for that was to be deprived of good things. Also, remember, like crystal meth. Schizophrenia often comes from crystal meth. It explodes it, and these entities that these people see, they don't go away. This is something to really think about. The voices in their head that drive them crazy, and how people hallucinate on crystal meth because they don't sleep for a long time, and the chemicals and stuff that are in meth, how it corrodes the brain, eliminates vast amounts of brain cells, reduces your cognitive function, makes your teeth fall out of your head, makes you do the most strangest things, shows you fall into disbelief, ignorance, and sin, and evil actions. And Shaitan try, oh, you're sad? Smoke meth. Oh, she's hot. Smoke meth with her, and you can do whatever you want with her. Get her addicted to meth. She will do everything you want, because that drug will bring her back to you every time, like a fly to the poop. It's crazy. And to miss out on delights, joys, and pleasures. They will be with the Shaitan and his friends, suffering regret in the hereafter. Hence Allah says, the Most High, they will be inhabitants of the fire, to abide therein forever. Suffering and regret. Think about that. There are so many women who have done atrocities because they were high. And they hang around wicked people and the drug dealers who commit these evil actions of selling these substances, they also work for Shaitan and his troops. And if you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't take intoxicants, you have avoided so much trouble. So much trouble. So much trouble. You have no idea. Okay, maybe you do have an idea. But, you're going to get rewarded for your suffering. Don't turn to alcohol when you're stressed out. Don't turn to weed, cocaine, you name it. Don't do it. Do not listen to the secular liberal atheists and the occultists who are like, yeah, man, and the libertarians. You know, it's fine, just be free. Like, there's some of them think they're cool when they tell you, like, yeah, I don't care what you do. You want to take ayahuasca every day? You want to have some peyote? And you're like, something real slimy going on here. Bizarre. You know, these women who get so high in the mountains of Peru with these weird shamans, they get throat tattoos, they get tattoos on their faces. I have tattoos, but if you're claiming to be spiritual, I feel like there's a point where you've gone with so much tattoos that you've now transfigured yourself to the point where you're a walking billboard where you are showing yourself not to be trusted. So you're advertising yourself as something to be avoided. Traumatized. You have scars of pain. Now, I know there's some Samoans and Hawaiians who get their tribal stuff going on. But in my opinion, I think women especially should avoid tattoos. And if you do get a tattoo, be careful what you get, because it's there forever. And you always will think about what it was. And if you do get something, at least it can have a message. But just be wise. That's my point. Be careful. You see these people who take all these drugs, they start tattooing their eyeballs black, getting all these piercings on their face, splitting their tongues. Be careful. Be very careful. Let me know what you think. And I hope you learned something. I know I did. It's a very valuable text. And if you'd like to join my blog and support my work, it's www.subscribestar.com/Milahan Archive. Hope to see you there. Still fundraising for the wooden panel, privacy wall, and the adjustable book holder that goes left, right, and center. And if you would like to contribute to that, it'd be great. Take care, fam. Ramadan.